Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Spotlight. I'm David Rose, and we begin tonight with the crackdown on criminals continuing to steal cars. The good news is that for the third month in a row, vehicle thefts are down more than 20%. The Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force says that's partly due to several key arrests of the Kia boys, and the work continues. Take a look at this dash cam video from the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, showing the moment 4 teens decided to run from deputies in a stolen Hyundai. 2 of them were armed. If they didn't steal the car, they wouldn't be here. Lights and sirens blaring behind them, hearts pounding with adrenaline, watching their futures dim as they try to outrun the police radio, only to eventually find themselves face down in the dirt.
Good spikes, good spikes, good spikes.
They hit the spikes, popping the tires, then leap out of the car, and the race is on.
Go that way! Go that way! On the trail! On the trail! That's the driver, that's the driver.
Deputies catch the driver and quickly get him into handcuffs. Then they warn another teen. They have a taser, and they're ready to use it.
I got 70,000 bullets to your back. Put your hands behind your back slowly, or you're gonna get it. You understand?
Yeah.
Deputies found a loaded gun on one of the teens. They say they found another loaded gun on another. They were able to take all 4 teens from the Tacoma area into custody. The risk is real for them and the public, but that message is being ignored. In Seattle, 2 14-year-olds and a 16-year-old are facing robbery charges after they tried to carjack 3 separate victims. The teens are inside that stolen gray SUV. Police followed them eastbound onto the West Seattle Bridge. Officers were able to deploy spike strips.
Deployed, good hit.
The SUV badly damaged, but the driver doesn't stop until he realizes its wheels won't go round and round. The stakes are high, so the teens take off, but no one is getting away.
Bailing!
Get down, get down! Get down! Get down, get down, get down. Get down, get down. Let me know you've been recorded. You're detained for robbery, eluding. All right, lay down, flat. You can put your hands down. Put your hands out to your sides.
2 of the teens were released on electronic home monitoring, but a 14-year-old is still locked up. Police were able to go after those teens because they had reasonable suspicion they committed a violent felony. They would not have been able to pursue them if it was just for driving a stolen car. But come June 6th, that all changes. That's the day Initiative 2113 takes effect, removing restrictions on police pursuits. Critics say the danger to bystanders outweighs the need to take someone into custody. But now there's an app for that. It gives you a move over warning. It's called Digital Siren.
Attention. High-speed pursuit in progress. Use extreme caution.
This is video from Pursuit Alert, the company behind the app. It allows law enforcement to send messages to your cell phone that a pursuit is approaching you, so you can safely get out of the way. It's free for you to use. The digital alerts are available right now in 6 states, but not in Washington state yet. Ken Morgan from the company says he's working to change that and is in discussions with multiple law enforcement agencies.
The bad guys always run out in front, and they're usually driving fast. So our whole goal is for an innocent motorist to raise their awareness for at least 30 or 45 seconds to start looking around and watching for what's coming.
He says the cost for police is about $200 per patrol car plus a monthly usage fee. Weigh that against one death of a bystander, which can cost a city or county more than $1 million. He showed me the piece of hardware that goes in the patrol car.
It's about the size of a small TV remote that plugs into the computer in the police car. And has a small antenna that fits on the dash. When the officer gets involved in a pursuit, they will merely push the pursuit button. There's also like an emergency response button. The blue is pursuit, red is for emergency response or code 3 or lights and siren, whatever different agencies call them. The yellow button is something that we more recently added as a move over warning that goes out just the back of the patrol car to try to protect officers on the side of interstates and in the roadway on traffic stops or on accident scenes.
They're also building software technology that would be compatible with the patrol car's computer, so the hardware would not be needed. Digital Siren also works right now with the Waze app. We'll keep you posted when it's ready for use here. Now an update on a suspect in a stolen truck accused of causing a crash that killed a father and left his 4-year-old son in the ICU. This week, Pedro Garcia pleaded not guilty. The wreck happened last month in SeaTac, and we've learned the child is out of the hospital. Court documents show officers followed Garcia after spotting him in a stolen pickup truck. They called off the pursuit as soon as he refused to stop. That's when Garcia hit the father and son, who were out for a Sunday drive. 42-year-old Oscar Morales Socedo died at the hospital. Investigators say Garcia took off running. He was caught the next day at a rest stop in Thurston County. Court documents say he told detectives that he was the driver of the truck responsible and did not mean to harm them. He's charged with vehicular homicide, vehicular assault, and hit-and-run felony. He remains behind bars on $550,000 bail. Detectives say before that crash, Garcia took a woman's 2 dogs. They were in the back of that Dodge when it collided with the Jeep. The dogs survived, but one of them, named Bella Button, has a long road to recovery. Well, thanks to donations from our viewers, Bella Button was able to get surgery on Wednesday.
Hi, my baby. Hi. Oh, my Bella Button.
Her owner says she's very thankful to everyone who donated. The surgery literally saved Bella Button's life. Shocking video showing the moment a barrage of bullets sent a family running for cover. And for the first time, we're hearing from the homeowners who survived. This happened a little over a month ago in Marysville, but the horror they felt is still very fresh. Right now, one suspect's locked up, but police are still trying to identify the other 2 suspected of opening fire at the Cromwell's home. The Spotlight's Nia Wong has more.
A quiet evening broken up by this red Camaro and the 3 masked gunmen who break out in front of a home on 41st Drive Northwest.
They came around the corner with no headlights on. That was kind of the get ready sign.
The shooting between the suspects and Justin Cromwell lasting only minutes, but these shocking moments still replay in the minds of the Cromwell family for over a month.
Definitely not your everyday thing.
No.
Cromwell and his wife Tara were at home along with their 3 young children when bullets started flying into the home they've lived in for nearly a decade.
So I told my kids to get down, but then come to find out bullets came through. I mean, every part of the house came through. My daughter's back window into my son's ceiling. It just came from everywhere.
The Cromwells say they don't know why they were attacked.
I think they got the wrong house, honestly.
They only know they're still suffering from that night.
Our 6-year-old won't go in her room because her bedroom window was shot.
Police say the man you see here was one of the 3 masked men caught on camera. 35-year-old Justin McIntyre is being held on a $250,000 bond. He faces multiple charges, including drive-by shooting, assault in the first degree with a firearm enhancement, among others. The Cromwells say they've never seen him until he appeared in court.
They asked him about signing the no contact order for the children that were in the house, my kids, and he said he pretty much asked his attorney why he needed to sign something if he didn't know who they were. So he admitted to not knowing who we were at all.
With 2 more suspects on the run, the Cromwells are getting ready to pack up and leave.
We want to get out of here as quick as possible. We've been here for almost 8 years in this neighborhood, and to have to leave like this is hard.
The Cromwells say a neighbor set up this GoFundMe to help them with their move, as well as with the aftermath of the shooting, which includes helping neighbors whose homes and cars were caught in the crossfire.
We literally drained accounts with hotels
and rental cars because my windows were broken out.
They say they are thankful for the support they received and to have just survived.
Mentally, we're not the same, but physically we're all okay because this could have gone completely different. They found zip ties and tasers in the stolen car that they left outside of our house.
I talked with the Marysville sergeant in charge of investigations. He says the home renter and his wife have been fully cooperative. They found no reason to believe they were anything other than true victims. So we put a link to their GoFundMe if you'd like to help them. It's in our story on fox13seattle.com. And if you can identify the other 2 shooters, please submit an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers through the P3 Tips app on your cell phone.
He was just crossing the street like he normally do. And I know this is probably, not the good place to cross yet. But normally, he was very, very careful. He's just a nice person. He never got into trouble. He's very helpful, very smart.
That was an Air Force veteran, Maurice Lloyd, talking about his good friend and neighbor, 54-year-old Navy veteran Robert Spafford. Detectives say Spafford was crossing the street in Federal Way back in March of last year when the driver of a stolen Dodge Ram pickup truck hit him and didn't stop. Spafford did not survive. We asked Spotlight viewers for help on this case to identify the driver responsible, and boy, did you come through. A tip to Crime Stoppers of Puget Sound identified the suspect, and now she's been arrested and charged. King County prosecutors charged 23-year-old Haley Bunkelman with hit and run and possession of a stolen vehicle. Detectives say she ran a red light in a stolen pickup truck and hit Spafford after she was caught on camera shoplifting. We showed you this photo from that case. That's her on the left. Detectives say she never stopped and never called 911 to get help for Spafford. Her next court appearance is March 20th. We'll bring you any updates on what happens.
Chris took the world by the reins, and he just did it.
Family, friends, and thousands of law enforcement officers paid their last respects this week to Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd. Trooper Gadd was killed on March 2nd. Investigators say he was hit by a driver on the side of I-5. That driver was here illegally from Mexico and is accused of being impaired. Trooper Gadd was a father, a husband, and a son. He'd been with WSP since 2021. A procession spanned from the Tulalip Casino south to the Angel of the Winds Arena. Service members who attended came from all over to pay their respects, including members from Canada, Iowa, and Texas. Trooper Gadd's sister serves alongside them in the Lone Star State. A state employee is facing charges for a riot that unfolded inside a youth detention facility. That woman is now free on bail. But as Matthew Smith reports, it's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the ongoing issues at Lewis County's Green Hill School. Matt?
That woman's name is Michelle Goodman. She's now facing charges for prison riot, abuse of office, and conspiracy to commit assault. Investigators say that she got a heads up that one of the residents was preparing to beat up another. They even say that there's video showing her laughing as another inmate mimics punches right after it happened. But as Fox 13 has been putting a spotlight on this facility for months now, and after the governor's office kept denying our request to sit down and discuss these issues, we ended up tracking Governor Inslee down to find out what he really thinks about all the issues inside of Green Hill.
Drugs, marijuana, fentanyl, powders, pills.
For months now, Fox 13 has been spotlighting issues within the walls of Green Hill. It's a facility meant to rehab teens and young adults, but countless employees, current and former, say the state is failing inmates and setting them up for failure.
It's that environment. That place should not be open. They don't care. They don't.
If staff continue to do what they're doing, no one's going to be able to break that cycle.
But new documents obtained by Fox 13 go beyond our previous reporting of a flood of fentanyl into the facility. We know that in a span of 6 weeks between the end of 2023 and early 2024, investigators were called out at least 7 times for what was referred to as prison riots, one involving at least 6 people. And today, one Green Hill employee was behind bars in Lewis County, scheduled to go before a judge. DCYF telling Fox 13, quote, "We are aware that Miss Goodman has been arrested. We do not have further comment on this matter due to the active investigation you mentioned."
I came away somewhat encouraged.
Today, State Senator John Braun toured the facility. He's been a vocal critic of the issues that we've been reporting on. In fact, he and the governor's office have had some back and forth following our last report. In the wake of this latest arrest, Braun told Fox 13 the fact that DCYF self-reported this incident was the first real sign that people are taking this seriously.
Those seem like promising steps in the right direction. That it took this long to get there is still frustrating and disappointing, but I'm somewhat pleased that we're maybe after all this attention headed in the right direction.
As for the governor's office, they've kicked the can each time we've tried to sit down. So we finally plan to meet up with Governor Inslee at an event where he was scheduled to speak.
Since they've made changes, we've seen arrests, we've seen drugs, we've seen employees get in trouble, a riot just a couple weeks ago. Do you continue to have confidence in DCYF, and why?
Well, we need to make more changes at Green Hill. I met just yesterday, as a matter of fact, with our leadership with Department of Corrections. We think there are some security upgrades that we can have there to reduce the chance of fentanyl and other drugs getting in.
To be clear, DCYF oversees Green Hill, not the DOC. It's part of a shift the legislature voted on 6 years ago and Inslee signed off on. It allows people up to 25 to stay in juvenile facilities for crimes committed under the age of 18. And while Inslee didn't really answer our questions about his level of faith in DCYF, we did get the chance for one additional question before his team stepped in and stopped us.
I think that things are going to be looking up as time goes on. But we do have challenges throughout the juvenile justice system. And the reason is we have now put 23, 24, and 25-year-olds in the same place with young kids. We've never done this before. This is creating new challenges in security.
So this remains a work in progress 6 years later. These facilities, their employees, and frankly, young people are seeing this unfold firsthand like guinea pigs. Former employees are telling me that they needed a fix yesterday because the residents in these facilities deserve a shot at rehabilitation. It is, after all, why these places exist.
A federal judge in Seattle heard arguments this week over a motion to dismiss a lawsuit by the family of a man who was shot and killed by a Clark County sheriff's deputy. The shooting happened back in February of 2021 after a traffic stop. The victim, Genoa Donald, died a week later. The deputy didn't face any criminal charges. State prosecutors decided that he acted in good faith after Donald refused to leave his car and fought with the deputy. But the family is calling for accountability, filing a civil lawsuit against the county, claiming Donald is on the autism spectrum, and that's why he didn't respond to the deputy. We heard from the family's attorney, who hopes the civil lawsuit will go forward.
We argued that this case, unfortunately, was one where the officer did almost everything wrong. Number one, it started with a bad stop over a loud exhaust and a tailpipe. Number two, the officer tried to drag the victim out of his own car. Number three, when the victim passively resisted, the officer punched him in the face and broke his nose. And then number four, the deputy fired his gun twice after he'd stepped back and was out of danger.
If the defense motion to dismiss the case fails, the case is expected to go to trial next month. 2.5 months into 2024, and fentanyl continues to kill. Almost 160 people have died from an overdose just in King County this year. As much as we try to drive home the message of how deadly it can be, 2 high school seniors at Skyline say it's kind of a taboo topic to discuss at school. Well, that shocked me because they go to the same school where 2 16-year-old boys died from an overdose in 2019, and the community was heartbroken. Tom Beatty and Lucas Beerer died from fentanyl poisoning after taking counterfeit OxyContin pills. These were both really good kids. And now the 2 students who were in middle school back then are trying to raise awareness about the dangers of fentanyl with a PSA they produced for their senior class project, hoping to save the lives of their classmates. Nathan Pan and Tanisha Shasharger are the stars and creators of this video. It's a public service announcement with a dash of entertainment and a serious message about fentanyl.
Reality doesn't reverse. Like, you only have one chance.
In the video, Tanisha sees Nathan alone at a party.
And he's scrolling through all these photos like, oh, like all these people are having fun. Like, I'm just kind of by myself here. And I walk in and I push the phone down and I'm like, hey, like, have fun with us. Like, what are you doing moping around in the corner? Things like that. And then that's when I introduced the pills to him. Like, oh, like, have fun with us. Like, just relax, like things like that.
She says peer pressure like this is real.
There's people who are like ingesting such like alcohol and drugs and things like that. And like, it's just super normalized in an environment like that.
Nathan gives in.
When we had our editors and directors, we added like sounds and we added like the effects. And also like when he was actually having that overdose and that reaction, you can see his dizziness, you can see him fainting, right? And so all of these are symptoms of, fentanyl overdose that we also wanted to bring light to.
He falls to the ground as his heartbeat flatlines.
One of our main messages is basically to address that fact of it. Like, you shouldn't be going to gatherings or things like that, or refraining to going to places where you're feeling uncomfortable.
The video ends with the clock rewinding, encouraging teens to make a different choice.
Our ultimate goal is, to just bring as much awareness to this issue as possible, especially around, teenagers and people our age, because that is, people who, we're like young and we want to have fun and we want to, go out and have all these parties. But we also need to recognize this is a risk.
And do you feel like other teens will accept this message more from their peers than they will from figures of authority?
I think yes, because when it comes from your peers, you feel that connection, you feel that kind of almost ethos, like you've gone through the same things, and coming from peer to peer, it feels more personal.
It's more connective and things like that between peer-to-peer rather than hearing it from like a higher authority figure.
We put the full video of their PSA on our website so you can share it. Just look for this story on fox13seattle.com. Finally tonight, the police headquarters in New Orleans is so infested with rats, the rodents are eating the evidence, including marijuana.
The rats eating our marijuana, they're all high, heavy mold in these buildings, rodent infestation.
That's Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick of the New Orleans Police Department. Now, if she looks familiar, that's because she's the former undersheriff with the King County Sheriff's Office, and she was the police chief in Federal Way and Spokane. Kirkpatrick says the building's condition has been deteriorating for the past several years, and recently things have just gotten worse. She says since she took office in October, her main focus has been on getting a new headquarters so the officers can do their work.
No applicant should come to the headquarters because it could be a huge turnoff. Yeah.
The current building's been home to the police department since 1968. Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of The Spotlight. Until next week, be smart and stay safe.